The sun was setting over the small coastal town, painting the sky with streaks of orange and crimson as people went about their evening routines. On a quiet street, outside a small convenience store, a simple woman named Clara stood holding a grocery bag in one hand and her little boy's hand in the other. She was modestly dressed, with tired eyes but a kind smile that showed her gentle spirit. Life had never been easy for her, especially since her husband was away serving in the Marines, but she carried herself with quiet strength. She had no idea that this evening would test her resilience in a way she had never imagined. A group of young soldiers, dressed in uniform but carrying themselves with arrogance rather than honor, approached the store. They were rowdy, laughing loudly, their voices cutting through the calm of the evening. When they saw Clara standing there, one of them made a crude remark. She ignored it, tugging her little boy closer, and tried to step away. But ignoring them only fueled their pride. One soldier blocked her path, smirking. "Where you going, lady? You think you're too good to answer us?" Clara's heart raced, but she kept her composure. "Please, I'm just trying to get home with my son," she said softly. Her little boy clutched her hand tightly, sensing the tension. Instead of letting her pass, one of the soldiers laughed and reached out to tap her shoulder. When she pulled back, another soldier's arrogance turned into cruelty. He slapped her across the face. The sound cracked through the air like a whip, and her boy cried out, "Mama!" Clara stumbled, her groceries spilling to the ground, but she didn't retaliate. She shielded her son, her tears falling silently, her dignity bruised but not broken. The soldiers laughed, proud of their cruelty, not realizing that their actions were about to summon a storm they couldn't handle. At that very moment, a tall figure stepped out from the shadows near the store. Dressed not in civilian clothes but in the crisp, commanding uniform of the United States Marines, he had the kind of presence that made silence fall wherever he walked. His eyes locked on Clara, and in that instant the soldiers realized their mistake. Because this was her husband, Captain James Hart, a decorated Marine officer who had served in some of the toughest battlefields. His face hardened as he took in the scene, his wife trembling, his son crying, his family humiliated. His steps were calm, deliberate, but each one radiated fury held tightly in discipline. "What did you just do?" His voice was low, but it carried like thunder. The soldiers froze. One tried to stammer, "Sir, we were just," but James cut him off, stepping between them and Clara, shielding her and their son. He squared his shoulders, his chest rising with controlled rage. "You laid hands on my wife," he said coldly. "And you did it while wearing that uniform. Do you even realize the disgrace you've brought on yourselves?" The soldiers exchanged nervous glances. They had mistaken Clara for a helpless, ordinary woman. They hadn't known she was married to a Marine officer who outranked every single one of them. The boldest among them tried to recover his pride. "We didn't know she was your wife, sir. We were just..." James took a step forward, his jaw clenched. "You think that matters? A real soldier doesn't dishonor women or children. A real soldier carries discipline, respect, and integrity. You're wearing the same flag I fought and bled for, and yet you act like cowards." His voice rose, each word sharp as steel. "You want to slap someone? You slap me. But know this, I outrank your man, I outrank all of you. And I will make sure your commanding officer hears exactly what you did tonight." The soldiers' bravado crumbled. One by one, their heads dropped, shame replacing arrogance. Clara stood silently behind her husband, tears streaming down her cheeks, not from fear anymore, but from relief. She could see the unwavering strength in his stance, the shield of love that nothing could break. Their little boy clung to his father's leg, eyes wide with awe. James turned his attention back to them, softening only for his family. He bent down, gently brushing Clara's tear-stained cheek. "I'm here now," he whispered. "Nobody touches you. Nobody." Then he stood tall again, facing the soldiers. "Pick up her groceries. Now." They scrambled to obey, gathering the spilled items with shaking hands, their arrogance gone. When they handed the bags back, James' glare bore into them. "You will report to your superior tonight. You will tell him what you did, or I will. And when you face the consequences, remember this moment. Remember that the uniform doesn't make you men, your actions do." The soldiers nodded hastily, mumbling apologies, before retreating in silence, their pride shattered. As they disappeared down the street, Clara leaned against her husband, her body trembling from the aftershock. James wrapped his arm around her, pulling her and their son close. "You're safe," he said firmly, more to reassure her heart than his own. The little boy looked up, eyes shining with admiration. "Daddy, you were like a superhero." James smiled faintly, kissing the top of his son's head. "No, buddy. I'm just a Marine. And Marines protect what matters most." Together, they walked home under the fading glow of the evening sky. Clara's steps were steadier now, her heart full of gratitude for the man who stood not only as her husband but as her shield. And for the soldiers who had thought her simple and weak, that night would haunt them forever, because they learned the hard way that respect is owed to every soul, not demanded by fear, and that sometimes the quietest woman carries behind her the strongest warrior of them all. Would you like me to also expand this into a cinematic narration-style speech, like for YouTube storytelling with dramatic pauses, so it flows like a voiceover? "I outrank your man." Those words cut the night air like a blade, a line that carried the weight of battlefields, honor, and an unshakable oath, and before they were spoken, Clara had only been a simple woman, a devoted wife and mother, holding nothing more dangerous than a grocery bag in the soft hand of her little boy. She had been thinking of dinner, of getting home before the street lamps flickered on, of the way her husband would smile when he came back from duty, but fate had its way of testing the strong, and the weak often reveal themselves in those tests. The soldiers were loud, too loud for the quiet street, laughter echoing not from joy but from arrogance. They wore the uniform of the nation, the very fabric men like James had bled for, yet on them it seemed like a costume, for inside their hearts they carried no discipline, only the intoxication of power. When they saw Clara, their eyes lit with mischief, the kind that seeks no honor, only cruelty. They blocked her path, spoke words that stung worse than knives, and when she chose silence, when she tried to slip past with her child, one hand struck her, the slap echoing like thunder. Her son cried, the groceries fell, oranges rolling into the street, bread torn open. A mother on her knees holding her child as tears stung her eyes, but she did not fight back, not because she was weak, but because she knew her strength was not measured in anger. The soldiers laughed, they thought they had broken her, they thought she was just another face, a powerless woman who would disappear into the night with her shame, but destiny had been watching, and destiny wears the boots of a Marine. James stepped forward from the shadows, his eyes dark as the storm he carried inside, his uniform crisp, the medals upon his chest unseen in the dusk but etched forever in blood and sacrifice. He did not need to shout, his very presence silenced the street. The soldiers froze, unsure of what monster they had awoken. His gaze fell on Clara first, on her trembling hands and the frightened boy at her side, and in that instant, his fury sharpened into steel. Then he turned to them, his voice calm but colder than death. "What did you just do?" 3 words that made the boldest among them tremble. They tried to laugh it off, they tried to explain, but he was not a man to be fooled by cowardice. He stepped between them and his family, his shoulders broad, his chest rising with the fury of 1,000 battles, and then he said it, "You laid hands on my wife, while wearing that uniform. Do you realize the disgrace you've brought on yourselves?" The air grew heavier, shame began to sink in, but James was not finished. "You think you were the same flag as me, but a real soldier does not touch a woman in cruelty, a real soldier does not make a child cry, the uniform does not make you a man, your actions do, and your actions tonight make you cowards." His voice thundered, and they flinched though he had not raised a hand. One of them stammered, "Sir, we didn't know she was your wife." James' jaw clenched, and he stepped closer until his presence swallowed their arrogance whole. "It should not matter whose wife she is. Every woman is owed respect, every child is owed protection, and if you cannot understand that, then you do not deserve the right to wear that uniform." He paused, his breath sharp, his hands steady.